You know it's a serious video when I'm talking about flags. It's a big deal to me. If you have followed this channel for any amount of time, you may have gleaned that I really enjoy flags. And if you have watched this channel for too long, you may have even seen my old series called Flag Review. It's a regrettable experience, a little cringe, but I did enjoy doing it. I would look at flags and I would review them based on personal preference, sort of disregarding cultural significance in a big way in favor of graphic design preferences and all that. But now that that has not happened in a very long time, I still want to do a video about flags. So I thought, you know, I dished out a lot of criticism towards flags, and I've given my preferences and all that in the past. But, you know, if I can dish it out, I should be able to take it. So now it's time for you to review my flags. Oh yeah, I'm gonna make my own flags today. So I looked at my state's flag. Can't get more personal than that with my love for Rhode Island. And I'm going to make an attempt to redesign the flag in a few different ways based on cultural symbols, historical stuff, whatever. I am not a graphic designer though. So the big question is, can somebody with no graphic design skills do what the people who make these things over here do with just a computer? I guess we'll see if I can do it, and we'll see if I am worthy of being able to dish out criticism when it comes to flags, because I have a feeling it's probably harder to make one than it seems. But I'm going to give it my best, and we'll see how it goes. So, let's get started. So let's take a look here at the current flag design. I actually, among American state flags, which can range from pretty darn good to really, 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 really bad, I think the Rhode Island flag for me falls in the upper half. Like, it has more flags worse than it than there are flags better than it. In a lot of ways, it's really minimalistic. It's 3 colors, white, blue, and gold. And that's not bad. It takes a lot to pull off a decent white flag, but I think Rhode Island sort of pulled it off. It has the anchor as its prime symbol, the 13 stars, and the little hope banner at the bottom. Things I don't really like in flags typically include text. So that's a big, I don't know. It's a little bit tasteful, I would say, because it's minimalistic. It is distinct from a state seal. There are a lot of flags that just look like state seals slapped on a banner. This is the Rhode Island state seal. It's got a lot of similarities here, but it is stylized properly for a flag. So I will say I've got my work cut out for me here. There are improvements that could be made. There are fun things that we could do with Rhode Island imagery to make a new flag. Another interesting thing about it I notice here is that its dimensions here are different. It's more squared off than rectangular. I don't know if it's a perfect square, but when I see this particular version of it, most flags would be a little longer on the x-axis, so it's got that going for it. I don't think I'm going to conform to that. I think I may just do a typical, like, with the typical US flag dimensions, but we'll see where it goes. I don't really have everything planned out yet. So what my idea here is to look for different sorts of Rhode Island imagery, because if I'm going to be remaking the Rhode Island flag, I need to be able to use different kinds of symbols that are important to the Rhode Island people. So what do people use as symbols around here? That's one of the big old questions. I guess we'll get started from there. We have the anchor, of course. I may reuse the anchor because I think it is a solid symbol. We are known as the ocean state. People poke fun at that sometimes, given that we are such a small state. While like proportionate to our size, we have access to a lot of ocean. We definitely don't have access to the most ocean because we are tiny. We are the smallest state in the Union. But I still do like that we've sort of embraced the anchor as the imagery. And even though we're not a proper island, we have significant islands. So the anchor imagery is not bad. So I'm going to potentially hold on to that. Now we're going to look for some other imagery that we could potentially use. So when you scroll down the Wikipedia, we look through the history of Rhode Island. There's a lot of things we could lean into. It was founded on positive, in theory, it was founded on pretty positive relations with the indigenous population, which is pretty cool. I don't know if it would be right to use Narragansett imagery. I would probably not get too close to that. I don't know if it would be proper or not, but it is something worth at least looking into. I don't know what kind of Narragansett imagery there is. Rhode Island has an independent streak. We could perhaps lean into that. I guess it would be worth acknowledging we have Newport, which is like, as far as Gilded Age imagery goes, like the Newport mansions are just the perfect example of Gilded Age excess. I mean, we could lean into that as like, not as something I would necessarily like, but something that, I don't know, there could be something visually interesting to come out of that. You're always able to lean into our relationship with religion. Rhode Island has always been more religious than not, but like definitely more in favor of freedom of religion than a lot of other states. Like, you can't force your religion on me, bro. Don't tread on my religious beliefs. Ooh, a don't tread on me flag, but like religious themes. That might... I don't mind borrowing from other things for the purpose of this. This is largely something I don't really have a problem doing, like taking influence from other places. Like, you could just put a quahog on there. It could be it symbolizes just the geography. It also has attachment to the indigenous population, because the quahog was used to craft wampum, which is this beautiful purple off-white bead type thing that was just pretty sacred to the indigenous populations around here. So the quahog is actually that's actually not bad. That's actually not a terrible idea. Sometimes I forget Family Guy is based around here, and that's like most people's best exposure to Rhode Island as a place. Isn't that deeply upsetting? Ooh, we got birds. So we got Rhode Island red, which is the this particular domestic chicken, which I think a state bird could make a great symbol. Then we've got fish, the striped bass. I don't know if I could make this work, but maybe. Well, we'll put them on there, you know. ocean imagery, and the violet is our flower. State flags have used flowers in the past to decent effect, so that could also be pretty good. What else do we got here? What is this? Oh, we've got a state mammal being the Morgan horse. I'm not going to do a horse. I feel like it just doesn't fit very well. Rhode Island greening. It's an apple. That's a maybe. I'll pop this one up here. I don't think so, but you know, it's a potential piece of imagery that we can use. Painted turtle. Doesn't scream Rhode Island, but why not? Bookmark that at some point. Red maple. Trees. You can always use trees. Trees are definitely a fair one to use, and it's beautiful. It's got very strong imagery. The coin here, the state quarter, utilizes the bridge and a sailboat, which I like the idea of a sailboat. I don't think we're necessarily synonymous with our bridges, though we do have some important ones. I am leaning right now towards the Rhode Island red for the first flag design. I think I've got a really good idea for this one. You may not think it's a good idea, but I'm excited to try it out, so we'll see what happens. So now if we are going to be doing like a state flag redesign, we do have to go to the professionals. I think that's extremely important in this state. So flags that I really do like, I think, include California. And I remember Flags for Good here did a pretty good redesign right here. And it kind of fixed all the things I had a problem with when it comes to the California state flag design. It removed the text. It simplified the bear, just making it all red. And it just looks like a really good communist flag. And let's not kid ourselves. If communists had anything figured out, I think they had some really cool symbols. The hammer and sickle is fire. Don't at me. It's a fire symbol. There's a reason people like it. And like even outside of that, like the Che Guevara t-shirts, like clearly they've got some stuff figured out in the graphic design department, is all I'm saying. So I like this one, and I think I want to do something sort of referencing this. But like, while this one, I don't know if it if they like overtly acknowledge that this looks like super commie. I want to do one that maybe does. Maybe it leans into that a little bit. It's like, oh, Rhode Island after the communist revolution, and I have a really good idea for this one. So how about we get that started? How about I start working on that right now? So what I've decided to do is utilize this rooster here. So this is the Rhode Island red rooster. I said I wanted to lean into like, oh, what if Rhode Island went through a communist revolution or something, and it really resembled that red California-ish flag. And I think that's a really interesting idea. So I was thinking Rhode Island red. What about Rhode Island reds? See that? Genius. So I'm going to fill this. This is kind of a red that matches the color used in that particular image. We are going to clean this up a little bit, but it's generally pretty good. I just noticed that it kind of cuts up the whole, it doesn't have like its full foot, so I'll fill that in. But I think this can be our centerpiece. Okay. It may be a little on the nose. You saw the one with the bear, and yeah, we're definitely leaning a bit heavy into using somebody else's general design. However, some things are so close to perfect that it's kind of hard to change. You know what I'm saying? I just think Flags for Good, they did such a good job when it came to designing the almost perfect modern communist flag. And they were just a little shy about being, like, the star, it can be a symbol on communist flags, and it has been. But I was thinking, like, what if we just didn't hold back? So I threw in the hammer and sickle in the corner as it is on the old Soviet Union flag. One thing I didn't do is that the hammer and sickle on their flag has like a yellow star above it. I was thinking about doing something similar to that, and I think it would have been just a little too clunky, and this is enough. So this is my attempt at a Rhode Island Reds flag. So the Communist Party of Rhode Island, if you're out there, this is copyright free. I guess you can use it if you want. If you like it, I personally think it would show that you have a sense of humor. So yeah, here's the Rhode Island Reds flag, and I fixed that foot thing from the chicken PNG that I had before. So I think this one's pretty good. As far as my first ever flag design, honestly, seen worse. Should I quit while I'm behind? I think I should quit while I'm behind. All right, whatever. Next flag. So I'm thinking about the second flag, and I keep going back and forth. Do I want to do more Native American references? I think it's really important. I'm always thinking about, though, would it be tasteful to do for a stupid video? But I'm going to do my best to make one that I think is thoughtful within the best of my ability, I guess. I really want to do something utilizing the color purple, and even if that's all I do, I've decided I'm going to use like the dropper tool, which allows you to pull colors out of pictures. I'm going to use this image of wampum that I pulled up on my screen. I'm going to pull some purple out of that and utilize it for this next flag. I think that would be kind of cool. So I visited the website of the ว์ᶦᵗ Indian tribe, because that's kind of the one that comes to mind when I think of Rhode Island, though it's not the only one. I am sort of privileging them at this point because I think the name ว์ᶦᵗ, if you're from around here, that is sort of the name you might jump to when it comes to talking about the Indian tribes of the area. So what I was trying to do off camera was create a flag utilizing just the colors of wampum. So I took a purple and I tried to pull kind of the off-white color that was also included in the wampum that I thought would be really cool together, but I didn't like how it was coming out, so I've decided to come and look for different imagery and different colors. I find that there's a heavy like yellow to orange presence on their website. I don't know if there's a cultural significance to that, but I think the purple and sort of a yellow-orange color might work pretty well. So I think I might use those as the prime colors for this particular flag. Also, I got something that I think would be cool, and I keep using the word tasteful here. Here's the idea. So this is not the one that I did. This is the old Rhode Island flag, but you've seen the current one already. And one thing you'll find as like a little bit of a theme is that they have the circle of stars going around the anchor. And I was thinking, how about, I mean, at least one of these has to include an anchor. What if instead of having the 13 stars going around, which is kind of typical for like an early American state, how about I do 5 stars going around and they all represent the 5 historical Native American tribes in Rhode Island? Wouldn't that be kind of cool? I think that would be pretty interesting. So I'm going to see if I can put that in motion. So here's like the general design that I've started with before we've incorporated the stars, and I like the colors so far, and I really wanted to incorporate the anchor. I thought that would be really good. So I'm going to take this and really try to run with this idea. I have the purple that comes from the wampum, the orange that I pulled from the website. It actually looks a little bit duller on the on my capture device. That just happens, but it's kind of a stronger orange on my end. So I'm going to find a way to arrange 5 stars around this and see if that can be pretty good. So I kind of like this. It's decent. I'm starting to think that maybe I may have maybe I do need to mess with like the size of the flag or like the dimensions of it, because not all flags are rectangles like this. Not all of them work with the US flag dimensions. The Rhode Island flag is a little bit more narrow, so maybe if I make this a little bit more narrow, it'll work, because like I think it's close to where it's got to be as like a simple flag. All right, here it is, guys. We have the Rhode Island flag, totally new color scheme, changed the stars. I was actually messing around with different kinds of stars, because they have some stars that have like a less sharp angle here that like maybe bends in a little bit here and then goes out there. I tried playing with different kinds of stars. I ended up sticking with these because they more match what we typically see in US flags, and I think that's fine not to like stray too far from that. So we stuck with the anchor in the middle, but this one more privileges the historic tribes rather than like the more European American element to it, but it still keeps a lot that comes from the original design. We've got the wampum, we've got the particular orange that I'm rather fond of. It looks more like Laker colors on your end though. It looks closer to a yellow. I promise on my end of the, I don't know why the color's dull on the other end of the capture. I'll put up the actual thing right here so you can see the difference in the colors and what I'm talking about in post. But I think this one is I think it's about as good as it's going to be. So I attempted to throw in like a quahog as like the center symbol instead, but the problem is I'm trying to use very solid colors, and when you just turn a quahog into a solid color, it just looks like a blob. You can't tell what it's actually supposed to be, and if I had more graphic design skills, I could probably add a little bit more dimension to it to make it resemble a quahog, but it just didn't work. And I can't just stick a JPEG in there and not alter it at all. It just wouldn't work. So this is flag number 2. So we've got number 1 and number 2. So we're gonna see if there's anything else I can come up with today, because I'm actually having fun with this. This is a fun little project, and I am cool with messing with the dimensions of these things a little bit. I'm having fun with that, and I don't know how I'm gonna top these. So I've used the anchor, I've used the Rhode Island red. I'm trying to think of what other imagery I could pull off for this. Maybe a state flower? Maybe I should try the flower next? I guess we'll give it a shot. So I was having a little bit of trouble working with the violet, so I ended up going back and thinking about the red maple tree, which is a beautiful tree. It's this Rhode Island state tree, which I thought was pretty good. So I ended up actually getting this little red maple leaf thing that I thought was pretty cool. I just found this online somewhere, and it was like really nice, so I thought I would go with that. And I think this sort of does itself. I was thinking like perhaps we could like, since it feels a little bit empty when it's just sitting there alone, maybe if we like framed it with like little red borders on the side here, maybe You know, simplicity at its best. I think this could be a really good state flag, and I think we should do it. And you know what? Like, I think it really fits the Rhode Island identity pretty much better than anywhere else. I don't think anywhere else could pull this off quite as cool as we could. All right, so that's flag number 3 in the books. That one was actually pretty easy. All right, I think we can crank out at least one more, though. We'll see what we can come up with. So while we're talking about taking influence from other places, we're gonna have to talk about Texas. Texas is known for not playing well with others. They seceded from Mexico. They tried on several occasions to secede from the United States once they succeeded. And generally, the Lone Star State reputation comes from a place that really makes a whole lot of sense. So the flag makes sense. It's very American in a way, but it's kind of on its own, doing its own thing. The stars on the American flag represent all the states. They got just the one because Texas comes first. And that's kind of cool. Except, you know who was the Lone Star State long before Texas did it? We were! You've been jacking our swag since 1836, man. And I ain't having it no more. So we're going to jack a little bit of swag back here. So we're going to take the Texas flag. And I'm actually mostly cool with the Texas flag. The thing is, on the United States flag, the stripes, the red and white stripes represent the states at the beginning of the Union. So there's 13 stripes, which totally works in that context. In this context, I actually don't know why Texas has 2. But we're going to do that. Just one thing. It's hardly even a stripe. You know why historically I feel we have a claim to this flag? This particular version of the flag, because Rhode Island was the first to secede from Great Britain, and we didn't even show up to the Constitutional Convention. We were the Lone Star State before you were even an idea. So the least you can do is let us plagiarize your flag ever so slightly. And if not, here is an additional version of said flag that we can use. Here you go. Have fun with that. Have fun saying no. We're taking it anyway. So now that's 5 flags today that we've come up with. It was a fun video. It was stupid, and we had a lot of good laughs along the way. And I made like 1 or 2 actual flags along the way. But really, I'm claiming this as the 3rd actual new Rhode Island flag design. And you can't stop me. So thank you all for watching. Tell me which one is your favorite in the comments section below, and I will talk to you all next time. Bye.
I'ma give money to the DJ. I'ma tell that nigga go replay. I know Lil B. Yeah, I know Lil B. Shout out to the bass guy. I said thank you, bass guy.